Hi Kiwi, and welcome back to a new episode of Hades 2. This is our Arcana setup for the day. We are going to be taking the Aspect of Artemis, hold our Omega attack to get a little shield that blocks an attack. Once we block that attack, we get 50% chance crits. We're going to be going for a 10 fear run in the overworld this time to meet our next Testament goal.
To the mountaintop.
Once again in this episode, I'm going to be talking about Under the Whispering Door, a book that Kiwi and I have shared that I quite love, that she also quite loved.
Like before.
And more on that in a second.
The threat of Typhon now is gone to us, and yet you are ensuring with the Titan Kronos that even the possibility of such a threat cannot exist. Then so mote it be. As Silver Sisters, we safeguard the realm by all our means.
Oh, she said the thing. All right, let's see. Moonwater, Lunar Ray. Sure, we'll do Lunar Ray. I think Lunar Ray scales with Apollo for the Godsent. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that's the case.
I can see you may direct the Lunar Ray.
All right, so as we are using Aspect of Artemis, it is important that we charge our Omega attack to get these lovely, juicy crits. Our base damage is going to be pretty low until we get a good attack boon. Last time we ran Aphrodite on the attack, and that worked really well. Hera is not a bad option, so I'll probably take her as the attack if we're offered it. Alternatively, the special is likely just as good, especially if we can manage a Trick Knives build going. We'll see. Definitely need a crit. There we go. Anyway, so as I was saying, today we are going to be talking about Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune yet again. Last episode, I tried to talk about May and Wallace. This episode, we're going to talk about Nelson and Hugo.
I don't see why you keep heading this way when it's your underworld that seems to need more help. The mountain's fine. Well, mostly. Other than these remnant forces of the Titans ruffling our feathers still.
I guess she's not aware of the current ongoing plan. Interesting. All right. The dash here is really solid. The attack is probably what we want. Would have loved to see a higher rarity attack, though. The base damage is rather lackluster. I think I still take it. Spreading Hitch will be pretty good.
My strength reborn.
Alrighty, so let's see what gods are in our pool today. And again, since I'm going to be talking about a book, one that I highly recommend, spoiler warning ahead for those who care. Hephaestus, I could argue. Why don't we go for the hammer first and see what it gives us? Aphrodite showing up isn't bad either. There's a lot of Demeter and more Hera. Okay, let's start with the hammer, because the hammer will likely set the pace for the rest of the run until we get to the third floor. In the meantime, so, like I said, I'm mostly going to be focusing on characters for now, I think, and the reason for that is just this is a very character-focused story. The characters are a lot of fun, and they inform the overall narrative pretty heavily. So, in the last episode, we talked about our main character, Wallace, and the Reaper, May, and I acknowledge that my inability to focus makes it so that the discussions on all of this are fairly superficial, but again, this is not meant to be a review. This is mostly me just processing my thoughts about a book I enjoyed sharing with Kiwi, and a stream of consciousness reflection on the feelings and emotions that it evoked. So, all with the backdrop of Hades 2 gameplay that may or may not allow me to focus on a given moment. So, bear with me, I'm just having fun, and I want to talk about something that I enjoyed. And that's good enough for me, and certainly good enough for Kiwi. We got, for a moment I'm like, oh, Trick Knives. So, we got all of the things that make the Omega Special better in a weapon that we are not going to build around the Omega Special. Love it. I guess I'll take Reaper Knives on the off chance we get Trick Knives. That probably makes the most sense. Special fires shots dead ahead. I mean, actually, this means every shot will guaranteed hit from a distance. That could work really well if we get the crit chance on it. You have my attention, game. Oh, Tabby's got the zoomies. I hear her zooming off in the background. All right, I think I'm still gonna take Reaper Knives. I think I'm gonna hope for Trick Knives. We get Trick Knives, we're gonna have a very strong build here with the crit especially. Get Zeus Special if we can find it, would be amazing. All right, Hephaestus doesn't really have things I want. I probably take one of the other doors then. Aphrodite's always an amazing support boon. We'll definitely take the HP. We'll definitely take the Hera. So let's take Aphrodite. Getting Rapture. I would love to see Rapture Ring here.
Cutthroats.
Anyway, so like I said, today we're going to be talking about Hugo and Nelson. Hugo is our ferryman, the man who worked with May and on Ghosts of the Dead, if you will, to help guide them to passing through the Whispering Door and approaching whatever comes next in the afterlife. He acts as a tether to Wallace to keep him grounded within the ghostly existence that he has.
You know, I shouldn't be surprised, and yet a single goddess doing so much work? You're quite the inspiration, love. And terrifying, too.
Very spooky, goddess of ghosts. I guess we'll just take the early spiritual affirmation. Passion Rust isn't that amazing. I would like Rapture Ring, and Glamour Gain is definitely not the boon for us today. Let's see. So yeah, so effectively, Hugo is. Oh wow! Goodbye, enemies. You get anything here? No, we'll hold out. We want to be able to afford a boon in the shop. So Hugo is this very nice tea maker who owns a tea shop called Charon's Crossing, because of course it's called that. It's, as far as the public he serves is concerned, it's just a cute little name with a reference to the Greek mythological passing of sorts. But to anyone who actually is a ghost or a reaper involved with his work, they know very well that it goes far beyond that in terms of what it actually means. It literally is a Charon's Crossing of sorts. Granted, both Reapers and Ferrymen aren't really... They are just normal humans, granted a little bit of extra power to both see and interact with the dead. Not necessarily... The Reapers actually can directly touch the dead. May has the ability to kind of go incorporeal and effectively become a ghost herself. Hugo does not as a ferryman, and that is a interesting dichotomy insofar as Wallace and Hugo having May become incorporeal or corporeal to offer hugs to those who need it. A very cute interaction in several instances, and surprisingly meaningful too, I must add, because those hugs do, when they are asked for, are very kind of important. Especially because at the start, especially, Wallace is, like we said before, very averse to affections or really just friendly human interactions, if I would describe it as such. Mostly because he is very confused about the current ongoings of his circumstances, and that's fair, I suppose. But oh right, I had Lunar Ray, I forgot. Nice juicy crit there. But I digress. Where was I? So Hugo is a character that Huey says she sees a lot of parallels to me in. When asked why does he always act so kindly to others, he says it's all he's ever known, it's all he can do. And that is absolutely a feeling I have expressed when kind of considering my relationship to others, how I tend not to be a very fighty person. I kind of accept that people are hurting or have a complicated situation, and I do acknowledge that has led to me in more than one instance being taken advantage of. And weirdly enough, I mean, it's not a good way to think about it, but I am kind of okay with being taken advantage of if it makes someone else happier, because that's all I've ever known to do.
Such a foreboding night this is. The air is thick with the death and decay of your father's realm, and the desolation I have wrought. The pale moon can scarce cut through.
Listen to Demeter writing poetry there. Let's see, special. She's still not giving us her call or her cast, which I would really like to have. I really don't want her special. I guess I'll take her dash. Yeah, I don't want her gain. I mean, it would be okay. I don't want an excuse to have to stand still on this run when we are already at risk of dying from taking the stray hit, being a melee character and such. Anyway, did you? Hello? This guy is, I can't hit him while he's doing this. Are we bugged? Okay, there we go. My goodness. I guess he needed to stand further away from us. That was a weird interaction if ever there was one. Wow. Anyway, and that's not to say that I recognize it as a good thing. I've both in therapy and in like reflecting on this book, I had a realization of how my favorite childhood book growing up that I shared with my mother, aside from the Harry Potter series, which are kind of their own thing, was The Giving Tree. And I think that says a lot, because The Giving Tree very much sends a message of giving everything of yourself to someone else, because that is how you can display care and love. And there is something I think that's supposed to be in that book that is kind of rewarding and glorifying self-sacrifice, until you kind of realize that self-sacrifice can have more harm than good, because if you reach the point of compassion fatigue, it can destroy a relationship. It can really harm the well-being of those involved too. So it's not it's not perfect. It's certainly not perfect. I think there is a degree of self-sacrifice that can be respected, but there's also a degree of personal boundary and self-wellness that needs to be reflected upon when viewing blind self-sacrifice as an end-all be-all good thing. I have gone on quite the tangent, but certainly those are some feelings I have about it. And for me, I still think, just because of how I was brought up, I very much value self-sacrifice, but I have certainly come to terms with that it is not always the best way to be.
Very well.
Anyway, the reason why I bring this up is Hugo is fundamentally a very kind, understanding, calm presence in this story. A very good foil to Wallace in that regard, who is, and even May, he stands as a contrast to May as well, because where those two are much louder, boisterous, fightier characters, Hugo tends not to take a fighty position. In fact, I think that's why both May and Nelson are such good characters to have as a support network for Hugo. It's almost I am to Hugo as to what Kiwi is to May sort of thing, where, or honestly, I might argue that you are more of a Nelson character, Kiwi, because you offer much more pointed commentary. You can offer much more like direct and critical assessment, but it's always there. You're never just judging someone. You always try to offer a lens of understanding or kindness. And it's something that you have said before that has stuck with me, that I really like the phrasing of, I suppose. Arctic Ring or Weed Killer here. I mean, I want Weed Killer for sure, but Arctic Ring would help us get origination going and give us a little bit of extra safety. I mean, we'll probably see more Demeter boons, so I'm going to take Arctic Ring while I can. I want that cast this time. Rapture Ring would have been a good alternative, but it's fine. We definitely, hopefully, will get ourselves a Omega attack boosting Weed Killer soon enough, just not yet. I'll take Demeter's Keepsake on the next floor if we don't. But yeah, so you are the Nelson to my Hugo, I suppose. Kiwi, you are kind, but this is how you have described yourself. You are kind, but you are not nice. You are always willing to try and understand or offer consolation to others, but you may not indulge in the social pleasantries to reduce the commentary you have against something. And I think I really respect that. For me, I think I embody both to a degree. I offer the words that people need to hear, but I also... Oh, I wanted that palm. Shoot. I guess... Do I want Hephaestus on this run? I don't think I do. His gain isn't good. His special could work. But I want to hope that I get Trip Knife, so I'm going to let that go. Oh well. Shame. I would have put that palm on the attack if I could.
How come you said whatever war's over, huh? The town's about the same. Last I checked, the dead are meant to be underground, not walking through the streets.
Well, don't you like the company, though?
The war with Kronos is over. It's just... there are a few remaining details being sorted out, and the underworld is in enough of a state of disrepair that it isn't back in order yet.
Oh, that's too bad. I tell you to go down there and help them out, but that might cut into my sleep routine, which has been pretty good lately. Now, come on. It's almost bedtime here.
All right. So yeah, so like social pleasantries aside, it very much can be a matter of we just have different approaches to how we interact with those who would potentially cause issue to us, I suppose. And I don't think there's anything implicitly wrong about that. Again, the idea of kind but not nice. And again, I respect how direct you can be. I think it's very helpful for those who aren't prone to listening. Sometimes the best way to get them to listen is to be direct, whereas I try to take a more roundabout approach that can be less direct and therefore slow the process down in a harmful way sometimes. And that's another thing that I've been slowly learning this year about. Again, I think both approaches are important and necessary, but in varying circumstances, perhaps. Second. Trying not to take too much damage here, but I'm honestly fine. Like, we do a lot of damage, and we have our shield up on a regular basis, so I think we're fine. Here, have a Lunar Ray. So, actually, does the crit apply to Lunar Ray? I don't think it does, but I need to test this and find out. Because if Lunar Ray can crit with our parry effect, that would be pretty wild.
Lights out.
I think Artemis only affects attack and special. No, it just says 9 next strikes. I think, well, actually, I think strikes mean just attack and special. I could be mistaken about that. Not sure. Anyway, so that tangent aside, I think I'm curious to see what you'll think of that train of thought, Kiwi. But I think for me, Nelson is also one of my other favorite characters. May and Nelson being my favorite characters, I think makes a lot of sense because they're good parallels to each other. May is both kind and nice, I would say. Nelson is much more pointed in his commentary. It always does feel like it's coming from a place of understanding or care, or really he says what needs to be said regardless of the consequences. So I think his communication style is a little bit more like yours in that regard. No matter the consequences, sometimes things need to be said, and that resets the mood or gets a better understanding or gets people to hear something that others are trying to like skirt around.
Armies of Kronos marched on Olympus. Mighty Poseidon split the very land asunder. And so the gods contend with naval forces now.
Not a mistake, an opportunity.
But often, even though Nelson comes off as antagonistic, I feel as though what he says is really important and often helps kind of set Wallace back on the right path towards what he needs to do in a given moment, both in terms of his own personal understanding and his interactions with the other characters. Poseidon. Poseidon's special wouldn't be bad. I'll take Poseidon. I'll take Poseidon here. We had said that Apollo would probably be best for this build, and I maintain that, but I'm not going to complain about a Poseidon special here. It'll scale pretty well, I think. Probably should have taken the other hammer, though, with that in mind. Oh well, Fate Swim means we take whatever we get, sort of thing. Alright, Popo, what have you got for us?
Welcome to my boundless, terrifying seas, my niece. Unfortunately, teeming with invaders now. Got my hands full dealing with them, if you must know. We'll see if you can break through their blockade.
Alright, Uncle Popo, what have you got? Ooh, max level special, we love it. Honestly, let's rarefy it. Oh, it's only 5 damage, whatever. It wasn't as much as I expected it to be, but it's still very good damage on the special. We really want to see Trick Knives. We get Trick Knives, this build is going to be really fun. Oh, we got a teleporting whatever this guy is called. Give me my parry, and wha-bam. I don't think we can crit with our Poseidon splash effects, which is fine. They don't count as strikes after all. Anyway, so I want to focus on Hugo first because I think Nelson is a good follow-up to Hugo. So Hugo connects to people with tea. He apparently has a little, like, of all of the things that he can connect to the dead, like, resetting my brain, sorry. So we established before that Hugo cannot directly physically contact the dead. That's why we have Reapers like May who can. But Hugo does have a tea set, and he makes tea for everyone's situation. We discover through the book that characters
On my authority.
dash, race. I'll take the dash more frequently. That's fine.
Better.
We find out during the course of the book that the Reapers and Ferrymen get a little kind of dossier, if you will, on who they are going to quote-unquote reap, who they are going to help move along to the afterlife and come to terms with their passing and their life events for as long as that may or may not take. And using this information, Hugo is able to pick out the perfect cup of tea that would reflect feelings or memories of those characters. For example, Wallace, I think, had, was it cinnamon flavored tea, I think? And it brought him back to memories that he had of growing up with his family. And that was one other interesting parallel that I forgot to make when I was talking about Wallace and May in their relationship to each other, is that, like how May had difficulties with her family, Wallace's family also kind of had this disconnected or dissonant tone to it, mostly due to the fact that they felt kind of distant from each other. I don't fully remember the details, mind you. This book, I read it probably about a month. It's been about a month since I touched it. I snuck a quick glance at your book notes, Kiwi, just to like freshen my memory a little bit, but that's the extent of it. But that is one other parallel they have to each other. And it also stands in good contrast because Nelson and Hugo, again, Hugo, their grandfather and grandchild, Hugo being the grandchild. If I recall, I believe Hugo lost his parents. They died in some sort of accident, perhaps? A car crash, yeah. And so Nelson kind of took over taking care of Hugo. Hugo was in a really dark spot in his life. Also managed to find himself... Oh, we're gonna have a rap battle. Here we go.
Little seeds and bigger fronds, stones from rivers, moss from ponds.
Grow some feathers, look like swans.
Spray of sea, clump of soil, branch of tree.
Grab your mug, drink some tea.
Claw of cat, heat it, stir it, that is that. Come, don't be shy.
Did you like the DS Lite or the DS Fat? I don't know, Kiwi. I'm so bad at improv. I will always say that. One of these days I'm just gonna bust out the poker app because I don't need anything else in my life.
Welcome, Puppet.
What?
Though, forgive me that I have not invited you inside my little hut. Such hospitality I don't extend to anyone. And I make no exceptions, not even for you.
What if I bribed you with some nectar?
Madam Cersei, that is perfectly all right. And there's no need to explain. We all live in seclusion in our own way. What other way is there? With privacy comes peace of mind.
Like that. I like that line. With privacy comes peace of mind.
I'm grateful that you understand. Of late, I share my simple home with beasts, but that is all. This Isle of Aia is not mine, of course. Rather, it's my dear companion, and can be yours. So please, help yourself to anything you need whilst here.
To be clear, I make jokes about it, but I would never, in a million years,
Now off with you.
force my way into someone's home. I hate the idea of someone inviting themselves to someone's house. For me, those sorts of interactions are always with consent and with like clear as possible communication. So, a joke aside, I would never actually like force my way into Cersei's house. That would be a gross violation of both her privacy and our friendship, our trust, frankly. I clearly have that with Cersei in real life, I guess. I don't know, man. Laser beams! Okay, we don't want to stand in explosions while doing laser beams. Anyway, so where was I? Ooh, Selene. We do want to get levels on that hex, so let's go for it. Let's see if we can get some Path of Stars going here. So Hugo, calm, kind, understanding, very much take things at the pace that they are needed to take. And I think Nelson very much parallels that as well, even if Nelson is a bit more upfront and abrasive. He does really exude a similar personality trait to Hugo insofar as his willingness to kind of offer time, understanding, and a harsh word here, and just by difference, a harsh word here or there where it is necessary, which is cool for his character traits, I think. But Nelson does end up being often a point of confrontational comedy, I would describe it as. Let's see, your hex fires up to 1 extra second. Okay, we need to get here as soon as possible so the hex can fire automatically. So where do we want to go? Armor, power, damage, armor, power. Okay, I think honestly armor is pretty huge here because we're going to be running a melee build. So let's go the bottom route and we'll stack armor. All right, we're pretty close to getting that unlocked. We just need one more Path of Stars and we'll have our auto-firing laser beam for the rest of the run. I guess we're not going to get the Apollo Godsend since we are at 4 gods, unfortunately. That was a bit of a hindsight mistake for me, but I'm okay with it. I think we've got more than enough going for this build as it is. Our base damage seems to be amazing, and, like, again, crit chance is so strong. They made it much harder to stack crit in this game compared to Hades 1, but you still can do it pretty... With the right weapons, you can absolutely do it pretty reliably. Aphrodite. Sure, why not?
Dead ahead.
Don't want glamour gain, though. I think we already got spiritual affirmation. Anyway, focusing on. So, what else can I say here? I guess the main thing I want to take away from this is that I really like Nelson's character, because even if he is more direct, he really does say what needs to be said. And again, I bring this back to you, Kiwi. I think you're very good at putting things into words in a way that maybe isn't the easiest to hear, but is in the way that needs to be heard. And I really respect you for that, Kiwi. For me, I'm more on the Hugo side of letting things have time and space and patience. But sometimes you need both approaches to really have a breakthrough with understanding of those who are not necessarily willing to understand, perhaps. I guess I should briefly mention Apollo, the bestest boy in the world in this book. They have a dog, his name is Apollo. He was a therapy dog, or a failed therapy dog, which harkens back to the memories of good old Fergus, our lovable yellow lab with not much in the way of brains, was in training to be
But even my radiant young sister must sully her delicate hands in all the field work that must be done. She is even beginning to take to it. Aren't you, Hera, our queen?
That sounds a little pointed. I forget what their duo does, I'm curious.
Oh, Demeter, these hands have seen more than you know. I simply do not flaunt the hardships I've endured. One can be as strong as a rock without taking on its texture.
That's an interesting line. Like, the writers of Supergiant's writers are great. I love that. One can be as strong as a rock without taking on its texture. I like that. All right, cherish your heirloom. Your keepsakes are stronger this night if possible, so you get an extra rank of the keepsake. Okay, cool.
Life or death.
I think even if we change keepsakes, the couple stacks that we got on it will carry over, so that's even better for us. I'll take the HP. I think I need a little bit more survivability. We definitely don't need magic. Seagulls? What? It looked like he said he was gonna say seagulls there. I don't know. See you, Kieran. Kieran.
Target practice.
Now that my brother's back, you still have no intention to return the Rail of Adamant, do you? Even though it was in his possession prior to all this.
Gosh, imagine if we could play as Zagreus and reimburse our Aspect of Hestia runs.
What makes you think he has greater right to
Relive.
it than me, huh, babe? He wasn't even using it 5/6 of the time. Just another weapon to him. But it's my one and only.
Honestly, if we look at the numbers, I think I use Aspect of Eris second to last, Aspect of Zagreus being the objective worst. So it's not even 5/6 of the times.
How touching.
Maybe it
I
was.
trust your mother shall make sure it all works out, seeing as she's back as well. I wonder if she's always known you'd get your hands on that thing.
Sorry, Eris brought fractions into the fray, and it turns out that just short circuits my brain because there were only 4 aspects. So why was it? Oh, she's talking about the weapons as a whole. Okay, that makes sense. I only use it 5/6 of the time. Then that is objectively false. I probably use it about 1/3 of the time, at least.
Oh, she has. Because this isn't my first time. Then I kind of lost it at one point, and your brother got his hands on it instead. But I always take what's mine.
Well, you can take me to dinner. I guess. I don't know where this joke is going. It's weird.
Yeah, burn it all down.
Oh, you and Hestia would get along great, Eris. Anyway, focusing along on the conversation that I actually want to have. I think. Perhaps. I don't want to go into that. That is a scary place to be, Harris. What are you doing over there? My brain has decided I really need to focus on this fight. Like I said, you and Hestia would absolutely get along with that kind of mentality, girl. Everything is on fire, but less so than it was in the past, if that's any consolation to me. I don't know if there's I wasn't sure if a bomb was coming there. I couldn't see it under my cast circle if it was. Hit me, baby, one more time. My goodness, we made quick work of her. I don't have my parry, so I'm not gonna stand in that. Actually, laser beams! Oh, wait, laser beams! Whoa, whoa. Okay, well, that's what I get for having fun, I guess.
We were friends.
Would friends shoot friends? Yes, I guess that's what paintball and laser tag are for, but never mind.
A gift.
Anyway, Homer.
The embodiment of strife has vanished, yet her influence remains, as earth and sea alike remain embroiled in a cataclysmic conflict she is keen to endlessly perpetuate.
Eris must be having the time of her life.
Definitely seems that way. Forgive me if you hear a little bit of a clanking every now and again when there's when it's quiet, or when I go quiet. It's me drinking tea and putting the mug down. I'm trying to make it not make sounds on the microphone, but it does look like it gets picked up every now and again, so that's what that sound is if anyone cares. I just figured I'm trying to protect my throat so I can record as much as possible without losing my voice, because certainly by the end of a recording session you can tell that, boy, my goodness, have I lost my voice. All right, let's see. Could sell things for gold. Could... I'm honestly surprised. I didn't realize so many of our keepsakes were this leveled up already. Oh, you know what it is? You know what it is? It's the Hera Demeter duo making everything a level higher than it was previously. Okay, I was tricked. But that's kind of cool. Let's see. What would I want to take here, honestly? I mean, maybe this time we go for the path. We're guaranteed a Path of Stars, so I take this, I think, Moonbeam. A reward from Selene is likely, and we'll get 5 extra upgrades. I think that makes sense here, because we're going to want as many levels on the Lunar Ray as possible. Path of Stars, we already bought this, didn't we? Yeah, we already bought this. Okay, we're good. This time we will actually take a Path of Stars if offered, but not if it's offered in lieu of a hammer. Hammer still takes priority here because we really want Trick Knives on this build, and even if we don't get it, it'll still be a... The Liminoros have really good hammers, I think, for a lot of different builds, and we're currently playing in a way that lets us that lets us be a little bit more versatile in how we build, I would argue. My Omega attack did not want to charge there. Was very at risk of taking an unwanted hit there. I have to say, they've done a very good job with Aspect of Artemis. It feels great to play. I actually am really surprised. I did not think I was going to like this weapon, but it feels very solid and pretty rewarding. I would definitely consider taking it over Aspect of Mel, mostly because I don't remember what the passive effective Aspect of Mel even does, which is probably the wrong way to reason that logic, but you know, it is what it is. Anyway, so let's talk. So Hugo, I think, is important. Hugo is kind of one of our major characters in line with Wallace. We see a lot of interactions with him, especially as the book goes on. He's meant to be this calming force for Wallace, helping Wallace come to terms with both his passing, but also his willingness to move on to whatever is beyond the Whispering Door. The effective afterlife, if you will. You see, what does this do? X pierces through throws. Okay, we want that next. This. Oop, shoot, I misclicked. I didn't mean to take that. No. Oh, thank goodness, I still have one left. Okay, we're fine.
There, at last.
Okay, and we're good. So, Wallace is tethered to Hugo, effectively grounded in the afterlife so that he doesn't float up into the ether. It's actually a point of comedy later in the story when Wallace becomes untethered. He just starts floating up like a water balloon, like an air balloon. Not a water balloon. Water balloons don't float outside of water, Jeff. He starts floating into the sky without being tethered. So they actually take Apollo's ghostly dog leash and hold him into tie him to a chair. And I just picture him being this little like helium balloon trapped to a chair. Thankfully, at that point, Wallace's dignity was not really a point of contention as much. He kind of came to terms with his dignitary being constantly made fun of, which is likely for the best given the situation he found himself in more often than not. We'll take Demeter here. But I don't know. Just again, right, I was going to talk about Fergus. Hold on. Okay, so Fergus was a lovable golden lab that we met, or yellow lab, that we met in grad school, Kiwi and I. He was being trained to be a service dog, so he got to attend lectures with us. So every now and again we'd get to pet him and just give him nice attention and reward. But poor kid was going to fail out of what is it? Therapy dog school because he kept peeing on his feet when he went for walks, and apparently that is a mark of failure because you can't, if you're a service dog, you can't really be in need of constant cleanup by your owner, you know? If anything, you're helping take care of the owner, not the other. There's still obviously a goes both ways sort of service to that, but you don't want your service dog to be peeing on his feet and then tracking it in the house for someone who probably can't easily clean it. All right, I'm confirming we did not get Weed Killer yet. No, we did not. So I'm gonna roll here, I think. Roll? Oh, right, Fate's Whim, I can't roll. Then I hold on to my Zagreus charges and we'll take, 4 extra seconds of being frozen is pretty busted. I think I take that. Yeah. Anyway, so that was good old Fergus. Dumb as bricks, lovable as all heck. They finally were able to train him out of the behavior. I don't know what they did, frankly, or if they kind of just pretended it didn't happen and didn't let the people know. Either way, Fergus is now with his forever home, taking care of people who need the help, I presume. I don't actually know what his story is. But good old Fergerburger was definitely a good boy who was trying his best, let's say. And it made me think of Apollo a little bit from Under the Whispering Door, because Apollo is also a very good boy, and however it works, which is not necessarily the clearest, he does pee on a health inspector. Like in this version of Ghostly World, you don't have a need for hunger or sleep in the afterlife, but somehow Apollo can still produce urine, and he made a point of holding it for the health inspector. And I found that funny. I did find that rather funny. Let's see, shop, hammer, or chaos. So here's the thing. We're still likely to see another hammer offered in the run, And if we take Chaos, we still get a room afterwards. I'm going to roll for Chaos. This could really hurt the run for a little bit, but might give us something fun to play with if not. We also need the Darkness and the Flux, so well worth coming here.
The weavings of the Fates are said to bind both mortals and immortals alike. The course and outcome of all lives all preordained. Thus the sense of choice is merely an illusion. Do you believe this, Spawn of Hades?
I think the fates determine much about our lives. When and where we are born, for instance, and to whom. But I don't think they set every detail. And I know they're not weaving it all right now.
I see. For the most part, I concur with your assessment. I am the reason Kronos has them now. He asked me where to find them, and I decided to tell him. To verify such choices could be made without their influence.
How very chaotic of you.
Oh, almighty chaos.
Oops.
You were deceived. Kronos is different now, but back then wished to find the fates for his own gain, as one of the forces in this world powerful enough to stop him.
So interesting. You do get custom dialogue here for Chaos admitting to having located the fates and given them to Kronos. But we have an extra bit of dialogue if we've already had Kronos reform. Interesting.
Yet they are not so powerful as they appeared. Nevertheless, I think you are correct. Kronos indicated his intentions were benign. I am unfamiliar with deceit and was misled. I remain quite displeased about this still.
I'd be curious to know what Chaos would want to do, having been found. You know, I just noticed something. Oh, that's a little uncanny. The Kiwi. You see how you see how Chaos has those little like red petals floating everywhere? They're sticking on the wings. There are some that are stuck, and they're actually eyes. They're blinking at us. That's kind of creepy. Interesting. I love their character design. They went above and beyond for Chaos in both forms. Anyway, let's see. Attacks deal 35% more damage, get a bunch of infusion elements, or boons have higher rarity. Paralyzing Creation sounds awful going into Prometheus. I don't know if I want that. Locking myself out of specials is manageable for a time. Inferno Bomb sounds icky, but not undoable. Do we have any infusion boons at this point? I don't think we do. I think it's probably better I just take Flayed Strike. I lock myself out of specials for a little bit, but I can manage quite well. Oh, and we're going straight into Dionysus. Not bad. I guess that was a mid-shop. That makes sense.
Well, I don't see why not. You made it.
Dionysus, why do you keep having fish in your swimming pool?
Go, Tula. No escape.
I mean, I don't mind, but thanks. But, like, it's not an aquarium. Is it a saltwater bath? It's probably freshwater.
Dionysus, won't you at least notify your family members that you're well? Some of them must be concerned for you.
I'm sure I'll get around to it one of these nights, baby, but we're still celebrating your success. You won the war.
We don't want my family souring this party. The party has to go on forever.
Not personally win the war. We stood together as a family and prevailed. I merely did my part.
You did most of it, Mel.
I'm doing my part right now. The others know I'm going to be fine. I just need a little space, what with all the excitement. A little space with all these fabulous guests.
Theo, you are an excellent party host. All right, let's see. Personal loan. Give up all your money now after vanquishing the next Guardian. Gain that much and more. That actually sounds pretty funny. 500 coin. Oh, but it means I can't buy anything in the next shop. Or tipsy shot. I don't like that. I guess I'll take personal loan. May as well rarefy it. 600 coin after the next Guardian. Pretty busted. And we'll take the mini boss because maybe I can get enough coin. Oh, I missed the soil over there. Oopsie. Oh well. The odds of us getting enough money to afford another boon are very unlikely unless we get a coin room offered. But let's see. Need my parry to be back up soon. Any second now. Okay, parry's ready. Charge it up. Sir. Thank you. I had to walk into his attack because he wasn't giving it to me. Jeez. I have to keep him in the cast as much as possible so that origination stays applied. We do burn through our crit very quickly if we're going to use our base attack damage, so I might just want to put it all in on the parry. Hit me. Hit me! Whatever. Laser beams. Oh, right. It pierces enemies now. All right. Pretty solid damage there.
Olympus, I accept this message.
All right, Afra, what have you got? Glamour gain, healthy rebound, secret crush. Okay, that'll be really good for our base attack damage, so I'll probably take that. I'm not using magic very much, and we will verify that. Okay. Anyway, I should go back to the conversation I was having. So, where do I want to lead this to? I acknowledge that my assessments so far have been fairly superficial and mostly just, again, it's a stream of consciousness vibes-based review. It's not a proper review or anything formal. Like, I would stand to gain a lot from just doing some properly scripted, put my thoughts on paper and then express them in video sort of format. But I don't think this is really the point of the channel. And as much as I'd love to do that, I feel like the conversations I've had with Kiwi after reading the book are just as good for that. And frankly, that's all I really need out of it. Just having someone to share an experience with and then reminisce about our feelings that we had while reading it. Anyway, I'm trying to think. So Apollo's a very good boy, therapy dog that failed at being a therapy dog, found Hugo at the right time and helped him a lot. When Apollo died, he just kind of stayed behind as a ghost, even though he had every reason to kind of move on. And I think that says a lot because it's kind of both. Hugo needed help after losing his parents, and he receives that help both from Apollo and from his grandfather. And it's interesting how both of them kind of stay behind to help protect him, I suppose is how I'd say. Unfortunately, we did not get trick knives. Our the last attack in our attack sequence doing 300% more damage plus critting chance is pretty nuts, though. I'm annoyed that we are getting these special boons in a very clearly Omega attack-focused weapon. Like, it would definitely still work, but it's just not what I want. All right, let's max out Path of Stars. I guess we just get these three. Anyway.
One with Selene.
So, the Free Poseidon. We'll take the Free Poseidon since I can't afford a boon from the shop anyway. Trying to think, what else do I want to say about these guys? So
I accept this message.
I guess I've said the main things that I really wanted to kind of express. Flood gain. I don't really need it. I'll take Slippery Slope. I don't think I really have much more to say, so let me think.
Why do you care so much for mortals anyhow? Their lives are short, their flesh is weak. Only in death do many of them finally begin to gain some sense.
Any laborer of skill cares for their work. Mortals, poor sods created in the image of the gods, yet forced to be inferior so that they could never achieve what my master and I now intend.
I mean, inferior as they may be, they still have made many an incredible work of art, to say the least.
You mean to say that you fashioned mortal kind, then stole the fire from this mountain for their sake? Absurd.
The truth can be difficult to absorb. Mortals live only to suffer. As I am responsible for that, I sought to take some of their suffering from them and redistribute it to all of you.
I was about to call him the Peter Pan of suffering, but actually I guess that's the Robin Hood of suffering. Steals from the sufferers and gives to the unsufferable. I don't know what I was trying to say there. It is what it is. All right, that felt good. That parry felt really good. All right. As we demonstrated with the last run, I do need to make sure I focus. So 2, 3, 1. 2, 3, 1. Okay, there we go. And back to hopefully some commentary. Okay, I guess we're not gonna get to really charge the parry here. Have a laser beam, sir. Oh, I'm surprised that actually is hitting him. Wow. Right, still have the Chaos Curse active. I timed that repost by accident, but perfectly. He's zoning us. I can't get to him. I guess I'm gonna focus on this fight because I'm at risk of dying if I don't. Actually, I might just. Oh wait, we have 4 Death Defiances. What do I care if I die? Like, actually, I am so safe here.
I was short apart on a freezing mountain. This is nothing.
2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2. Alrighty. I think we've likely got him at this point, so here's a laser since you're gonna hold still for me. This actually feels pretty good to use. Can I kill him without the Death Defiance popping? I can. There we go. Nice and clean. Well, maybe not clean.
Defeats of mine before. Every last one of them, in point of fact. In the blink of an eye.
poor Prometheus, he's seen like 200 plus defeats in his future.
He's gone.
Hopefully we got a conclusion where we have some amenable realizations before then. Dude could use a break, I feel. Anyway, what I realized I wanted to say that I hadn't touched on before was I had kind of like my thesis statement, quote unquote, in the last episode of all of these characters in some way serve as a foil to Wallace. We talked about how May does that. In terms of Hugo, how do I view it? I guess the first thing to comment on is the fact that Hugo approaches everyone with much more kindness and understanding on a very surface level. He offers patience and consideration, whereas Wallace was very much this has to happen now in the exact way I expect it to, leaving very little room for negotiation or understanding on his part. And Hugo certainly stands his opposition to that, but also he kind of represents what Wallace is missing, a support network. Hugo had people who, not just in life but in death, stuck around to help support him and help him come to terms with loss and tough times and harsh feelings that were very difficult for Hugo as a child to process. Wallace really didn't have that. He may have had it initially, but he pushed everyone away. Hugo embraced them, and I think that's a very important difference in character that Wallace certainly over time learns to both respect, understand, and frankly want. And then where else can I go with this? Nelson as a foil, again, Wallace has little interest in the consequences of his words. I think Nelson very much does have interest in that. He may not make it very obvious at times, but I think it's very clear that Nelson's words are very carefully chosen. As harsh as they may be, there is always this understanding underlying them. There is a concern for those the words are targeted at, and sometimes his words do come out just in frustration. He gets tired of Wallace's nonsense, and he offers threats, or rather than advice, he offers criticism. But sometimes that criticism is necessary for Wallace to be like, wait, maybe I am not approaching this appropriately. I don't know. It's interesting. Oh my goodness, look. How did we just... Wow. Okay, we do damage. We do so much damage. I guess, you know what, it was Hitch. Wow. Artemis be busted, man. Artemis be busted. Don't doubt the power of crit damage, Kiwi. Do not doubt it for a second. Extended family or cast damage. Neither of these are really good. Actually, no, wait. This will increase the damage of Hitch, and we just proved that Hitch is doing a truck ton of damage. Sure, we'll take it. All right. Hitch is going to do a lot of work, except the problem is Typhon does not have any allies sticking around for long enough for the Hitch damage up to be relevant, unfortunately. Took a big hit there, unfortunately. Anyway, so that is those are my first thoughts about as like reviewing each character as either a foil or a character development, a point of representation for what Wallace needs to develop to as a character, I suppose. And it's interesting to realize that every character in the book had some major influences on how Wallace ends up by the end of the story. I think Cameron is another character that's introduced very early in the story, and definitely spoilers for that. It's towards the end of the episode, so probably no one's going to care at this point, but I'll mention it anyway. Cameron is a character that's introduced very early in the story. Spoilers ahead for his involvement in the story. Cameron is a husk of sorts. He is someone who left the tea house for far too long, and as a result, they established fairly early on that when Wallace runs away from the tea house in a moment of panic and fear and not necessarily understanding his circumstances, when you leave the tea house, the protections that keep you grounded start to fall apart, and you basically start, what's the word, withering away, for lack of a better word. Your body basically starts to like peel apart and flake away, and effectively your corporeal existence falls apart. I cannot manage to get a repost on this guy at all. All right, here, have a laser beam. The consequence of it is it also seems like they lose their sense of self. They become a husk, their soul lost to the ether. At least that is the implication. The reality of it is definitely challenged and proven wrong, which leads to its own questions later on in the story, mind you, which in its own right was very interesting to see develop. But crit for 2k there, not bad at all. Cameron is a very good representation of Wallace's character arc. The resolution of Cameron's story, to say, is one of Wallace finally understanding, man, we didn't get Weed Killer, unfortunate. I think it really doesn't matter what I take at this point. Local climate I'm not going to use. Fundable Forage is, it's a seed. I'll take it, I guess.
Adequate.
Anyway, Cameron shows that Wallace begins to not just care about himself anymore, but those around him, and he takes interest in the past and the futures of those around him, which was something that early on in the story just didn't feel like it was a possibility for him. Natural selection, the boon in your leftmost column, get levels. I mean, at this point, it doesn't really matter. Ocean Swell would be decent damage, but I'll just take this. So we hit. Looks like it hit our attack a fair bit. Good. Testament. Honestly, I'd probably buy the Testament. I don't feel like I need much more. Buy the HP. Can't afford the boon anymore, so we'll take the max magic. And now I'll take the armor. It's fine. All right, weird shopping decisions here were made, but it's fine. All right, let's send it to Typhon. So Cameron represents both Wallace's growth as a character, being willing to understand and care for those around him, and taking a huge investment into their future, potentially at the cost of himself. Certainly, the early iterations of Wallace, to say the least, did not give us a sense of someone who would be willing to sacrifice himself for the sake of someone else, and yet here he is doing that exact sort of behavior for the sake of Cameron and getting him an outcome that he desperately wants. And Cameron's story is just heartbreaking. It is a story about someone who lost the love of their life and then took their life because they could not find any hope in their circumstances. Again, a very stark contrast to Wallace, because Wallace, one, would never in a million years take his own life, but also just Wallace having such a deep connection to someone around him that to lose that connection would be the equivalent of death itself. It's... Second?
Let's see how you like this, you monster.
It's very representative of, again, a foil to Wallace. Wallace pushed people away. He ignored their value in his life. Cameron was obsessed with that, not obsessed, but like was so affected by that connection that to lose it was no different to him than death. And so it is interesting that one, Wallace is able to come to terms with his own death, but also come to terms with Cameron's death and accept that Cameron went through a horrible experience, and he wants to help. He wants to let Cameron heal from those outcomes that were beyond his control. And certainly we see this with another character, Nancy, but I'll probably talk about her in another episode, because my goodness, is Nancy's backstory rough, to say the least. Very rough. What I really want to say is that Wallace's growth as a character was influenced by everyone around him, and the payoff just feels good. It feels earned, because we see him learn and grow from everyone's experiences around him, something that he clearly had not been capable of prior to the machinations of the story. And then suddenly he can, and he does, and he cares, and it's so satisfying to see that growth. I know this is sort of rambly and not very well focused, but again, I'm fighting the father of all titans, forgive me, or the father of all monsters, forgive me.
You're nothing.
But I suppose, again, if I'm tacking back to my thesis, Hugo offers kindness and understanding. Nelson offers more jaded perspective, but still kindness and understanding, much like his grandson. Apollo is this bright and vibrant and happy-go-lucky, can-do-nothing wrong good boy. And they all stand as a contrast to how Wallace started off as a character. Cameron, again, also just stands as a representation of love and how love affects us, and how sometimes the loss of love can be the most painful thing possible, and we don't really realize that for Wallace, who feels very at odds with his ex-wife for most of the story until the very end, where he tries to kind of, what's the word, reconnect with her and gain that understanding. And it's just fun to see how all these different interactions lead to Wallace's personal journey and the outcome of his story. And we do get a very happy ending in a situation where it really felt hopeless for a little while. It is this story does approach the feeling of death's inevitable embrace very poignantly in some ways, I would say, and I do feel like the happy ending does undo a little bit of that feeling, perhaps. Giving us that happy ending is great, but it does also kind of downplay the I don't know if I should even say the finality of death, because one of the messages of the story is that even in death we continue on, either our memories in others or our story in the afterlife. So I don't know if I want to call death final, but I don't know, there feels like a little bit of contrast to it there. Or maybe that's by intent. If we get that happy ending, if the life continues on regardless of death, then maybe that is the biggest message of the book, is that we have to process death in our own way, but we continue on in whatever form we're allowed to maintain that continuing on in, both in the memories we leave behind, the people we've touched with our lives, and the people we've touched in our deaths. I don't know. This is more philosophical than I think a Hades 2 run needs to be, but certainly this is a book that leads me to certain thoughts like that. All right, let's go say goodnight to the house. I have a date with Mom.
This world is filled with monsters large and small, and for the most part, they are not unstoppable, as evidenced by our Dark Princess of the Dead, who thus decides to take a little break.
Return to Shadow now.
For context, the date with Mom is a hangout with Kiwi and I with our grad school mom friend.
What just happened?
All right, let's say goodnight to the house,
A
Phrynos.
satisfactory result that time, wouldn't you say?
We get some good froggy RNG. I would enjoy it if the other pets did show up here, but this is Mel's space, so it makes sense that Phrynos would be here first and foremost.
The House of Hades was so luxurious. Nice to have your own space, though.
There is something novel and enjoyable about just having your own dedicated little room with a tent. I mean, I had a tent as a kid and I loved sleeping in it. Had a sleeping bag and everything. I never went camping even once in my life, but I went camping in the house, if that counts. I slept in the basement away from my bedroom. That's a big step of up from camping, right?
Hey, you were talking in your sleep a little bit. Not that I paid too close attention, but where were you last night anyway? You seem a little off.
I was Big Mel, very Big Mel.
Oh, I was up there, on the surface. I never thought I'd see it for myself, and now I'm there night after night. It's cold, damp, overrun with the dead.
There are so many eyeballs. So many eyeballs. Oh, well, someone's playing Slay the Spire too, I guess.
You're
Ignore
really
that, please.
selling me on the whole thing. If it's that bad, how come you keep on going over there? I'd just stay here if I were you. Or me.
I guess that tells me that I'm not in exclusively recording Hades mode. I'm screen capturing. Oopsie. It doesn't matter that much.
You don't understand. I have to go that way. It's part of my task. Well, not officially, but... Look, I won't bore you with the details. I should go.
You're Katasky on Tasky? Perhaps.
Have fun being all cold and damp.
And covered in eyeballs, yes. I am going to run that joke into the ground, Kiwi. No new
I
prophecies.
learned what happened to the Fates, Lord Moros. Or rather, how Kronos discovered where they were. It was Chaos who led Kronos to them. Chaos, of course, seems to regret this now, and I don't think had any ill intent.
Oh, that is a lot of information to take in. It does make some amount of sense. Kronos having free reign in your father's house, eventually found his way to Chaos, then coaxed this vital information out of them. Then he ambushed the Fates as part of his plans for conquest.
You're taking all this better than I would have. Come to think of it, I've never seen you angry.
He just wears it well, Mel.
You're seeing me right now. It's just, my anger changes nothing, typically. So Chaos now is working to undo some of the damage caused. Kronos removed one thread in the Fates, but created another. Perhaps an unwise trade.
Most certainly, you triggered the primordial creator. Bad decision there, Kronos. Also, just a little acknowledgement of good voice acting. So they're trying to imply Moros is in fact angry. He's just not displaying it. But the way he delivered, it's just my anger changes nothing. Typically, he really like emphasized or like harshened the way he delivered that. Typically, I thought it was cool.
Making a mockery of Chaos seems unwise to me.
You know, Mel, you're not wrong, and yet here I am, having done that a number of times in the Hades 1 playthrough, so I am not one to judge.
Got me fair and square again, Trouble. More than a couple times. Starting to think maybe I'm losing it, you know?
You definitely are. Give us back the gun. I want to play Hestia. I want to play with Aspect of Hestia on this game.
Oh, you poor thing. Please, let me cheer you up so you'll proceed to fight against me even harder than before.
Yeah, maybe stop using your aspect. Switch to the Aspect of Hestia. Trust me, it's busted. One shot, one kill. That's how it works.
You mock me when I'm vulnerable. Fine. But don't expect to cry on this shoulder when things take a turn for the worse when it comes to your stuff. Out of my face.
Bye, Ares. Don't come back soon. I do appreciate that everyone in the Taverna claps for you when you want to run.
Trace of Typhon left.
It's finished.
More darkness means we can do something important. I'm forgetting what that important thing is, but I know it's something big. Oh, I remembered, Kiwi. I'm gonna go do that now before I forget. We are finally, and I mean finally, after almost 50 runs, getting 30 grasp. Here we go.
I know my limit now.
Mind for magic. Gain 30 grasp at the Altar of Ashes. We have our limits, usually far beyond what we believe them to be, but nevertheless there. I can finally use the Maximum Arcana. My gosh, I've been waiting for this for so long. Okay, anyway, let's go say goodnight to everyone else now that I've managed that one major accomplishment of minor but significant at the same time proportions. Mystery Seed, and a Thalamus, and a Mandrake. Sure, why not? I don't think it really matters what I grow at this point. We've got our prophecies and such.
Through the rift of Thessaly, goddess. Sometimes I long for my past days and nights at sea, and probably since I've forgotten just how miserable it was.
Ruthlessness is mercy upon our sails, Odysseus.
I feel I could remind you at this point. Kronos has this vast fleet of ships drawn from the very depths, drowned crews and all. I had to commandeer whichever craft I could.
A proper nautical experience then, fraught with danger, mystery. I feel a little envious of those drowned crews. After I died, I thought my sailing days were done.
Well, Kronos could probably use more sailors after what I did to them.
Put in a good word for me, would you?
All right, Kronos, would you like to hire the master tactician himself, Odysseus? Hey.
Mortals must be thinking they can get away with anything lately.
Give them a good punch and show them they can't. I think that's the first time we've had a conversation with Nem, but it didn't have an exclamation point on it, so I guess that's just default conversation. Interesting. I guess we need to start divvying up nectar, and since I can buy nectar here, I think it's time to give a lot of gifts, but I'll start doing that in the next episode. Basically, what we're gonna do is...
I'll take the special.
Oh, dude, I can only buy one at a time. I thought I could buy more. Okay, well, maybe we're not going to be spamming nectar as hard as I thought, but I should at least use some, I suppose. But again, a thought for another time. Let's see. Ashen Memories of Life. Whenever you claim ashes, gain 5 max HP. Never again can ashes become that which they used to be, though faint traces of their past sometimes remain.
May ashes of the past awaken newfound strength. So mote it be.
All right, Hecate, let us go to bed. What have you got to say?
I found Circe the Enchantress on my route toward Olympus. Or likely, she found me. She hasn't changed a bit from what I recall. You have her keeping watch over the seas?
That I do. Selene takes to water like a cat, while Circe hails from the sea. Thus has it been a good arrangement for a while. I trust Circe's work retains its potency.
That's a little odd. I mean, it makes sense. Selene kind of is in the sky, but I mean, Selene has such a profound effect on the tides. So she's, I guess maybe in Greek mythology, they didn't really know how tides worked outside of just being probable forces of the gods at play, but still.
She's been great.
Are you just telling me that the goddess of the moon, or the titan of the moon, would sink if we put her in water? Never could have seen that coming. Create verdant soil. Create 2 soil plots in the remaining space next to the others near the grove. The support of a gardener often is the difference between a thriving plant and a mere husk.
Domname Sion.
That's a new question.
So mote it be.
Domname a Sion. I guess we're a sea on some new soil plots. Ha 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 ha. Alright, let's go to Skelly and call it a night. Like I said, we've got a date with Mom, and I can't be too much later than I already am to it.
No way she could. Oh, hey.
Hey, there was a way we could have done that. We used a cat.
to have felt the deadly sting of the sister blades. Mayhaps these are the sharpest blades with which I've ever been sliced.
Aside from all the other blades that we used in the last game.
I'm honored to bear them.
Roar, I'm a bear. Roar, 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 roar. Those are the sounds of a bear, Kiwi. All right, Kiwi, it is time to call it a night. I hope you've enjoyed watching. If you're awake, I hope this is helping you fall asleep. If you are sleeping, I hope you're sleeping well. In the next one, some more Hades 2. Get him, Tula. Bye, Tula.
Let us continue.
Tula is doing a very cat thing. She's caught in the curtains. Oh my gosh, Chromos gets caught in the shower curtains so often. Well, have a good nap, Tula. You're doing exactly what you should do. And you too, Kiwi. Sleep well. Bye-bye.